Welcome to Between the Reads, where Black books are shared and celebrated all year long. I'm your host, Audra Russell. There are so many great things going on this year as I continue to amplify Black stories, but I can't do it without your support. Please consider heading over to patreon.com/betweenthereads and becoming a member, or make a one-time donation at www.ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. Are you ready, Boos and Bros? Then sit back, relax, and let's get to it. C.M. Lockhart, also known as Chelsea, is a Black writer of fantasy because she loves creating worlds, exploring relationships, and writing stories about Black girls who aren't all that nice. She is the founder of Written in Melanin LLC, which encompasses the Melanin Chat and a weekly podcast and YouTube channel of the same name, and the Melanin Library, an online database of books written by Black authors. Chelsea, welcome back to Between the Reads.
Thank you.
For y'all that don't know, Chelsea was on my show a while back, and Chelsea had graciously extended the invitation for me to be on the Melanin Chat with her and co-host, and we have a ball every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. We really do. So if you haven't watched yet, you really need to go on over there and check out her channel, Written Melanin. Yeah. So, let's get right to it. To this beautiful saga, we are the origin. Please share with us the inspiration behind this book.
The inspiration behind it, wow. So the way I always put it is there is definitely a place where like the idea came from, but it has evolved over time. So like the final product is definitely an accumulation of a lot of different things. Okay. So the inspiration for it, like the original idea, came from this really wild dream that I had back in like 2015. And I'm not going to go into all the details of it because most of those details did not make it into the final book. You're going to be looking at me like, Chelsea, what? So just know that it was a really wild dream.
Okay.
And I wrote it down, and then fast forward about a year, a lot of life changes, got married, moved out of state for the first time, and had no idea what I was doing with my life. And I hit kind of like this like massive like depressive point of my life. And I have always enjoyed reading, but I got tired of reading because everybody was so freaking happy in all of these books. And I'm just like, this is not my life. I do not have the power of friendship to pull me through. This is not it. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to write my own book, and she's going to be upset. She's going to be mad. She's going to be big mad. And I wrote a version of that book. I got like 40,000 words into it. And then I was just like, this ain't going nowhere. It was just an outlet. And I was just like, eh. So life goes on. I spent 2 years running from my calling and thought I was going to be a teacher. Bad idea. Terrible idea. And then finally, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna write this book. I'm just do it. I'm be an author. I'm put all my effort into it. And as I got more into it, because like obviously the first time I was on the show, we were talking about my first book, Keeping Promises, and this is nothing like Keeping Promises. The only similarities they have are like the title on the book, the name of the book, who wrote it.
The only similarities they have is the author. I was gonna say that's it.
Yeah. So. But as I got more into the realm of indie authorship and learning about this world, this industry, this process, I learned a lot of things. And, you know, a lot of representation has come to the forefront, especially since 2020. And one of the things that I just really wanted to incorporate was just not only how I felt in that moment, I really specifically wanted a Black character, specifically a Black woman who was unapologetic in being herself, where she took up space and did not apologize for it, and she was allowed to have what we so commonly call negative emotions, and she is allowed to be how most Black women feel like they have to hide when they're in public. She does not. I want to write a character who could, if she was having a bad day, if she was upset, she could just be upset. And I wanted it to be a fantasy because I'm like, I don't want to play with the rules of this world. I don't want to have to function within the constraints that we have on us, because not saying that those books are not amazing and not wonderful, but it has been done so much. And I wanted a book that was also uniquely, I'll say, African American, because a lot of fantasy, especially popular fantasy within like the last, I'll say 5 years or so, has been focused on African fantasy based on Orishas. And
I have some questions about that too.
and while I absolutely love some of those books are my favorite. One of the ones that I love is Antoine Bandelai's T.J. Young series. I think he does the story really well. But the reason I specifically wanted to write We Are the Origin is because I wanted something that was for the Black girls who could not trace their ancestry back to Africa, who knew that they came from there, but that wasn't their history, that wasn't their culture, that wasn't who they were. And as an African American girl who's never been to Africa, who can't trace her roots back, who can't say, hey, I came from this part, you know, I wanted something where it's just like, I don't feel like I'm excluded, or I feel like I'm missing a part of my culture that I should know. Like, I should be able to get these references because it was written, quote unquote, for me, when it really wasn't. So that's kind of where it came from. And then there are like other little aspects where, like I said, representation is just a really big thing for me. And I want to show that not just Black girls, but Black people come in all shades. They come in all colors. They have all types of personalities, and they don't have to be nice to be lovable. They don't have to be nice to be interesting. They don't have to be nice to and make people comfortable in order to be the main character. You know? Okay. That was kind of a rant. So, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Listen, I know you. I'm ready for it. So just be ready when I say backtrack. So we're going to backtrack right now, because we have talked about this book a lot on the Melanin Chat. And you wanted to create your own world with We Are the Origin, complete with your own gods, your own magic that weren't based on Greek gods or African gods. Now, you hinted at that a little bit, but let's just go back into that just a little bit more of why you felt it was important to create something that was wholly unique for your story.
Okay, so a little bit is most of it is exactly what I told you. Like, I want something where it's like, I want anybody to be able to pick up my book and follow along with it. And it's not some hint to, oh, this is a hint to Greek mythology, or like this character is supposed to be representative of Zeus or Athena, or, you know, this person or this god is supposed to be representative of one of the Orishas, or any of that. So part of it is definitely that. I just wanted something where it's just like, no one has to feel excluded from the fantasy, because the fantasy is completely contained within the world. The other thing that came from that is something that you know about me that I tell everybody who knows me, is I really love anime, specifically like shonen anime and things like that. But I love fantasy worlds in all aspects, not just books. And one of the things that I love about the genre is the fact that when something is self-contained, I feel like it lasts longer. Because one of the things that people still talk about, and is still relevant today, is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that is because everything within that show is self-contained within the show. So even though what the characters are going through are relevant to every time zone or every timeline, time period, whatever, generation, whatever you want to call it, it's relevant, right? It's also something that is like, it came out in 2008. The last episode of it aired in 2008. And here we are, you know, 10, 15, almost 20 years later, and people are still watching it. See, people are still relating to it. And I wanted to capture that within my own book, because I didn't want to date it by saying like, oh, these are the current world problems that we're dealing with in 2021. Right. You know, that was just a very personal decision. And then also, not to toot my own horn, but I am creative. I just wanted something that was mine. And I wanted something where it's just like, no, I get to create this world. Like, for lack of a better term, as a fantasy author, you really get to play God. Like, I get to create this world.
You do. Absolutely. Yep.
From the bottom up, from the gods, the creation myths, the people, the culture, the lore, everything. I get to create all of it, and you're telling me that I'm not? I'm just going to let it be something that somebody else has already created. And then also, and here's the biggest thing. It's a massive secret I've never told anyone else. I'm lazy as all get out. Okay? I was not gonna.
I thought I was getting something juicy. Come up with this bullshit. I'm lazy. What the hell?
I was not about this research life that authors were like, oh yeah, I spent months researching the gods for this book. Baby girl, she ain't got time. She does not have time. Ooh,
We're going to make this up. Breaking exclusive for Between the Reads is that you're lazy and you don't want to do the research.
I mean, that's what it is.
See, this is the Chelsea I know, y'all. She's all trying to be, oh yes, son of created these worlds, trying to be all prim and proper on my damn show. This is not the Chelsea I know. That is the Chelsea I know. That Chelsea right there, that's the Chelsea I know.
It's who I am. I'm multifaceted, okay? Let me be
multifaceted. I was
multifaceted.
Get some juicy gossip like, this is what, some huge secret, and you like, okay. I'm lazy.
For the listeners listening, I need y'all to know that Audra's being dramatic because she knows that I tell her everything when it happens. So how am I supposed to tell her something she don't already know? I don't get it.
Do we really need to go through the list today of what you did?
You know what? See, this is the problem with Audra. She always got to tell everybody everything. She got to keep receipts. Like, I got receipts too, homie.
I'm just saying, I got receipts that are as recent as today, so.
But I told you, didn't I? But
when did you tell me?
Don't nobody else know, but I told you.
I know y'all out there listening, especially some of y'all that listen to the Melanin Chat. I know y'all like, what's she talking about? I am not telling.
I can tell you what it is. Y'all ain't finna see it. I got exclusive cover art for book 2, and Audra's mad because I told my husband first. That's what happened.
I said, why did him and Amanda know, and I'm like third on the list. I'm like, why didn't you tell me when you told them? I wanted to be part of the list, is all I'm saying. At the same time. Anyway, we're going to move on.
We're not going to have this argument. Why she's supposed to be interviewing me like a professional.
Right. Okay. You've listened to my show. You know the shit that goes down. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about the domains you created. What was your process for coming up with them?
Okay, so I need you to know that all of these answers are going to revert back to that first one where I said that I'm lazy and I like to make things up. So I just need you to know that. I just need you to know
Should
that.
I just like skip? Should I throw the damn cards away, Chelsea? I mean, really?
No, I mean there's a process to it, but it stemmed from I wanted the domains of the gods. There is a process behind it. I will say that, but a lot of it was just like I made it up
because you're lazy.
Basically, what had happened was I was over here clicking and clacking and clacking and clicking on my little keyboard, right? And then I was like, I need this to be different. And then I was like, okay, so why? Why would this part of the world that they're from be different from the part of the world that they're currently in? Mm-hmm. And then that's when I was like, oh, well, it would make sense if the gods govern their people differently, because one of the things that I had learned from watching N.K. Jemison's masterclass is that you have, as an author, you have to know the culture of the world. And one of the things that she touched on, not necessarily got in depth, because I ain't gonna lie, I ain't finished the masterclass. My attention span wasn't long enough. But the part of the masterclass that I watched, she was talking about how, as the author, you have to know the culture of your world, and also you have to know how that culture came to be. So it's like, if you have a culture of people who walk around barefoot, why do they walk around barefoot? There has to be a reason. This has to have come from something. And so, as far as the domains, for those of you who haven't read the book, not a spoiler, there are 5 domains in the book, and they are all governed by different gods, and they have different cultures. So the domains were just kind of like, this god has this area. This is his little incubator to do what he wants to with his people, his children, to do as he sees fit and how he sees right without intervention from the other gods. And part of it is just like convenience. Part of it was, okay, this matches with the culture of the world and why people are different and why they also look different in different places. But also, I just thought it would be fun if one of the things that I love about fantasy is that, like, you have like old-timey fantasy where it's just like, oh, we're in a tavern and there's no electricity. Ho, ho, ho. You have that kind of fantasy, and then you're like, ooh, super fancy. We have like pods and transportation and like holograms and stuff. And I was like, I couldn't pick which one I wanted. So I was like, well, we're going to do both. Why not both? And hence the domains were born.
With those voices? Did you talk with those voices when you created them?
I have like a ton of voices, and Ben will tell you that I talk in them all the time. Just walking around the house making weird noises.
Okay. All right. So, I'm going to keep going to my questions, because otherwise we're going to go off on a tangent, and this is going to be a 3-hour long show, and we're talking about your book, so I'm going to be good.
I'm having a good time so far. So
I'm having a good time too. But you and I both know we can go off the rails real quick.
True. Let's stay on the rails, at least for right now.
For right now. Okay, so We Are the Origin has a map.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share the process for how you created it?
Yes and no. Yes, because the software that I use is actually a free software that you can get online. It's called Ink Crate. So INK, Ink, Arnate, INKRANATE, something like that. Anyway, it's a free software. If you Google free map software, it's like literally one of the first things to pop up.
Okay.
So the map was created on there. I cannot tell you how I made it because I did not actually make the map. So
Ben did, right?
Right. So for anyone listening, I am married. Love my husband. He's amazing. We've been married for 7 going on 8 years. Okay.
Yay.
That being said, I did commission a map from my cover artist, but she had a lot going on in her life at that point, and I just couldn't get the specificity that I wanted in the map in the time frame with everything that she had going on. So basically, I told Ben about it, and I was like stressed because this was like maybe a month before the release date of the book. And I was like, I need a map. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he was like, chill, I got it. So it was like a 3-day weekend, and he was like, I'll make you a map. It's software, right? And he's very like technologically inclined. So he watched like 10 hours of YouTube videos at 2 times speed to figure out how to use the software. And then he just like sat down at the computer and he started playing with it, started doing it. And literally like he was on one computer and he was working on the map. And then I was at the other computer typing away at my edits, like making changes and little things. And he like asked me like, okay, so where does the ocean need to be? And is this the right shape? And, you know, how would this work? And are there is this in your world? Or how does this work? And yada, yada, yada. And then the colors and everything else. So it was a very collaborative process. But I will say at the beginning of all this, I do have a hand-drawn map that looks like chicken scratch. And it's very specific, but it was also nothing like... Just be grateful that Ben did the map. Otherwise, I would have got my chicken scratch in the book, and it would have made absolutely no sense at all. But yeah, that was the process for the map. And so the map came into existence over like 2 days, like a month before the book came out.
Okay. And it's a beautiful map. And if you buy the book, there's a little QR code in the front, or there's a link so that you can download the map, and it's really, really beautiful. And it really kind of, I highly suggest looking at the map before you start reading, because then it gives you that spatial awareness of where they are and what they're doing as they move through the story. It does help a lot.
Yeah, and if you get the ebook, you can just tap the QR code if you can't scan it, and it's a link, so it'll also take you there.
Fancy.
I mean, she's an indie, so she can do what she wants.
Yeah, there you go. Indie authors, God love them. You get stuff from indie authors you don't get from traditionally published, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
So, Freya, the god, and her story of creation. It's pretty elaborate. So please tell us how you came up with her story of creation, and include the shaders, because they were amazing.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about you're lazy, so you created it because you're lazy. I want to hear it. Like there had to be something that made you like think of this stuff. It's a pretty elaborate story. It's a pretty elaborate world.
Okay,
it,
so-
Chelsea. Just tell us what you want to tell us about the book.
You asked me questions and you said not to answer it. So I'm like...
Say, don't tell me you lazy. What the hell? Come on
Okay.
now. There had to be a process for creating Freya. And
You want to know what happened, Audrey? You want to know what happened?
I do.
She was tired and took a nap. And she had a dream. And then she woke up and wrote down what happened.
And this is how you created the whole story of creation with Freya.
I kid you not. I kid you not. I have the notebook for it right here. I can show you what I read down when I woke up from my nap. Okay, I was laying on this couch at our last apartment, and I took a nap at like 2:00 in the afternoon because I was tired and Ben wasn't home yet. And then I woke up, and I was like, ooh. And then I wrote it down.
And the shaders and the whole story of creation with the four gods loving her, all that shit was in your dream.
Yeah, mostly because I like to watch anime, and I had just finished watching Kiss Him Not Me, which is the story of this teenage girl who she was like really awkward. She loses a lot of weight, becomes fine, and then all of a sudden these four guys are just like, "Hey girl, how you doing?" And she's just like, first of all, I don't even know what y'all think this is. She's like, I'm a fujoshi. And for those of you who don't know anime lingo, that basically she means she likes guys who kiss other guys, right? She's that type of person. She's like, I don't need y'all trying to kiss me. I need y'all to kiss each other. That's why the anime is called Kiss Him Not Me. Okay? And so it's a very amusing anime. I watched it, took a nap, and I was like, ooh, that'll be fun. Now, the images of the gods and what they look like and their names and stuff came from the dream. That's purely original. But...
You said, ooh, that would be fun.
And then I wrote it
Came
down.
up with-
And so we had Roth, who's the god of the sun. He's the god of pride. We've got Lindel, who's the god of the ocean. We've got Karna, who's the god of the sky. And then you have Asari, who is the god of the moon. And then you have the goddess, and all of these gods are in love with her. I will say this, the shaders did not come from the dream.
Okay.
The shaders were actually created on purpose because I like books that have animal familiars. Like, I just think they're fun. And when you play video games, you usually get like an animal familiar at some point, whether it's a dog, a cat, a wolf, whatever. And one of the things that I enjoyed about Avatar: The Last Airbender is how they had animals, but they were really weird animals. Like you had a crocodile duck, right? They were like weird hybrids type stuff. And so I just found that really amusing. So I was like, if I'm going to create this world, I want something that is going to be fantastical. I want it to feel very fantasy. And I was like, okay, wolves are cool, but like, let's make it cooler and let's make it dangerous. And then because I wanted, at this point, I knew what I wanted Brandy, her character, to be like. And I knew I wanted her to be an assassin. And I knew I wanted her to be very strong and very confident in who she is. And I wanted this idea that she is not afraid of the monster under the bed. And so that kind of brought the idea of the shaders. Like they're these monsters that parents literally tell their children to scare them to go to bed at night and be like, hey, if you're still up or if you get out of bed, the shaders are going to come and eat you, you know? And it's just like for Brandy, she's like, I've literally met shaders and I'm not scared, you know? And
Brandy's like, what else you got?
What else you got? And then I really like the idea of kind of going back to what I said, talking about the culture and how Freya is the mother of the realm, you know, everything traces back to her. But everything that I had created up until that point was her and another god. And so I wanted shaders to be something that is uniquely hers. She created them without the help of any of the other gods. And therefore the shaders only respect her as their goddess. They don't really care about the other gods. And I wanted them to be reflective or indicative of there's something that Freya created before she met the other gods. So before Roth created the sun, before Asari created the moon, before all of this other creation, she had these shaders. And that's why they don't have eyes, because they were in complete and utter darkness. There was no light yet. They didn't need it. That's why they're big as a house, because there was nothing around to impede their movement. And that's why they have like razor sharp teeth, and that's why they're man eating, because men didn't exist at that point. Like, I just wanted something that was like hers. And then the talking part, the mind telekinesis part, just came from the fact I was like, you know, it'd be fun. I feel like everybody who's ever owned a pet was like, I wish at some point I could talk to my pet. I wish I knew what was going on in their head.
Right, right.
So I just
But you crack me up with this. Whenever Chelsea says, you know what would be fun? You are in some shit. Because her mind is getting ready to go off on something really random. And it's like,
it's crazy up here.
I feel like if Chelsea and I had gone to college together, her ass would be like, you know, it'd be fun, and then it would end in some crazy ass weekend. It's like, did that really just happen?
I mean, I am definitely down. The thing about me is I don't really associate with a whole lot of people, but the people I associate with, I am down for an adventure. Okay? I am 100% that friend who'll be like, you know, it'd be fun. Let's just like drive to LA.
Across the whole country.
I mean, I could drive, you could drive, we both have licenses, we have a car. What's stopping us? What's stopping us?
I mean, sundown towns, you know, they're still a thing.
I mean, we can get a plane and just rent a car. I mean, I am just a very strong proponent of where there is a will, there is a way. And if you want to have fun, we can do that. Like, let's make it happen. Let's work out the kinks.
See what I mean? All this is from, you know, it'd be fun. Okay, I'm bracing myself. What the hell will be fun? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I mean, I'm a fun person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, the Erin and the Eris, if I'm saying it right. No? Erin?
It's Erin and Eris.
Erin and Eris. Okay, well, damn. See, I read the book wrong then because I was saying Erin and Eris the whole time I was reading the book.
But see, that's the beautiful thing about reading a book. It can be whatever you need it to be, and that's one of the things that I love about language and about books. But when I wrote it, it was Erin and Eris.
Okay, so tell our readers what that's about because that's a cool part of this whole world you created. Just fucking say what they stand for and tell the readers what they do. Okay.
Okay, so the Erin stands for, it's EREN, so Erin, and it stands for the entire realm's external network. Mm-hmm. And the Eris is the opposite of that, so it's ERIS, and it stands for the entire realm's internal systems.
Okay.
And basically what they do is the Erin, the external network, is basically the equivalent of the internet. It's how everyone is connected. It's how, where you carry everything. It's like, it's got your government ID, right? And it's got like how you interact with people, how you contact people, how you exchange
and your
currency.
money, right? Yeah, there you go. Your currency. Mm-hmm.
It's basically everything, because in my fantasy world, I was like, you know what would be really lame? If Brandy had to carry a purse. Psh, bump that. No. And then we have the internal systems, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's the internet, but it's like that subversion of the internet that's for like the elite or whatever, for like the queendom to actually run. And that thing, you could think of it basically like, you know how like when you get on the internet and you use an app and they got terms and conditions? Basically, the internal systems are the people asking for the terms and conditions. Like, you need to sign this in order for this to work. It's the thing that you can't shut down. It's the thing that you can't get rid of, et cetera, et cetera. So, Brandy, as an assassin, has access to both of them. And I'm not going to get too much into the details because that is like a plot of the book, but that's what they are. I need y'all to know that originally it was just called The Grid, because I'm not that creative all the time. It was just The Grid. And I was told that I needed to create something better than that. So that's where the names came from.
Okay. So you just pulled them out the air?
No, I didn't. You know, I love anime. So they're actually the names of characters that I really love. So one of them is from Attack on Titan, and then the other one's from Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah, and you know what? We're going to take a little sidestep here because tell everybody how you came up with the name Brandy. And was it Leah? Which one was the other one?
Oh.
What was the reasoning behind you coming up with the names, ma'am?
So, First of all, there is a rhyme and a reason to the names. They are not all like completely pulled out of my rear end. Okay, some of them
Brandy.
but there are some, like the conception of them are definitely rooted in the fact that when I created these characters, I was in a very dark place. So Brandy is based off of the liquor. Jack is based off of Jack Daniels. And her shaders, Brandy's pet shaders, are based off of tequila. Tiki and Leah. Tequila. That's what it is. That's what it is. I am not ashamed. So, but also Brandy's name also has a different origin. You remember at the beginning of this conversation, I said that I had a really weird, wild dream.
Uh-huh.
Well, most of my dreams, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but like half of my dreams are first person, half of my dreams are like third person, where I'm just watching like a story play out in my head that I have absolutely no control over. So I had one of those third person dreams where I was just watching, and the main character was actually Brandy, like the actress and the singer. And that was like the origin of Brandy's name. And so I switched out the Y for an I. And then she became her own character.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Yeah, but Jack was definitely based off of Jack Daniels. And in a version of the book that doesn't exist anymore, they definitely had a kid named Daniel. Yep. Brandy, Jack, and Daniel. That version doesn't exist anymore.
I'm not even gonna touch that, Chelsea.
They were gonna have twins, actually, Daniel and Morgan, and Morgan was going to actually be based off of the rum, but I decided not to go for that. Captain Morgan.
Okay. Now, should I even ask about Lyndall's Holy Academy and the little phrases that you had at the beginning of each chapter? Or are you gonna give me that same look? And I
mean, just understand that there is a rhyme and reason to everything, but everything is 100% made up. But yeah, there's a rhyme and reason to everything. Like,
well, that's what I'm trying to get behind.
Okay, so I'm gonna start answering these questions seriously. Just know that everything is 100% made up. Everything's roots from there.
I mean, that's why it's called fiction.
I mean, some people do research, and I just don't understand that.
I'm just saying. Okay. All right, I'll leave the guidelines alone. But just so y'all know, there are these really cool guidelines at the beginning of each chapter from Lyndall's Holy Academy. And they
did you have
really
a favorite?
Awesome. I did, and it's actually a quote for the end of the show.
Ooh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Me getting a quote.
Yes, girl, you got the quotes.
Leveling up in the world. And you don't know that if y'all follow me on Twitter, I have these things called author achievements, and every time one is unlocked, I make a tweet about it. So I just need y'all to know that Audra quoting my book at the end of her show is about to be an author achievement.
And I also gave you another author achievement.
She did. She's giving me a lot, y'all. I stand Audra. I love this woman. Y'all don't even know.
Because I have totally adopted the language of this book. And she has there's this word cracked for like, basically like, are you crazy? And she says, are you cracked? And that's like my new word. I go around and when my husband or kids do some stupid shit, I'm like, are you cracked? And they're like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, are you cracked?
I say it too. Like she's cracked. She's not well.
Not well. Not well at all. So, like I'm a total stan of this book. I love it. I love it. Love it. Yeah. So, each one of the four gods, Roth, is it Roth, Lyndall, Karna, and Asari. They have human vessels.
Wait, so are we going to skip over the question about the intros?
I mean, are you going to actually give me an answer?
Yeah.
Are you gonna... Okay, all right. So share with us.
She just trying to take my little questions away. I was right. And she just going to skip over it.
Because I thought we were going to move past it. All right, fine.
Now I got answers. Yeah. Ask me.
Okay, so share with us about the guidelines at the beginning of each chapter and about Lyndall's Holy Academy.
Okay. So.
Okay. Happy now.
Yes, I am. Okay. All right, so Lyndall's Holy Academy came into place because I was like, some of these people need to be smart. There needs to be a school somewhere. And so I was like, Lyndall's Academy. So there are multiple academies in the world, but the most popular ones are Lyndall's Holy Academies because they study the gods. And they're structured. Everything in the book is centered around the number 5, mostly because I'm sick of the number 3 and 7 everywhere. So I picked the number 5, and 5 is also my favorite number. So I was like, okay, well, a second favorite number. I actually do like the number 7, but we're getting off topic. Everything in the book is based around
Linear
5.
thoughts.
Linear thoughts. Okay. And so there are 5 academies, and they're literally numbered. There's just first, second, third, fourth, and first, second, third, fourth, and fifth Holy Academy. And they go in order, like, of how the gods fell in love with Freya. So the academy that studies Freya is the first Holy Academy, and then the last 4 or 5, whatever number, whatever math makes that math, follow the other gods.
4. 4 other
The other 4 follow the order of the gods as they fell in love. So Roth is the second, Lyndall is the third, Karna is the fourth, and Asari is the fifth.
Okay.
And I decided to do that because, like I said, I wanted the academies to be in the book. Like there's culture here. There are schools. There are reasons for why things are done the way that they are. But part of it is I really just like chapter openings. I've read several books that do it really, really well. The one that kind of stuck with me is actually El Penelope's Song of Blood and Stone. She has them at the beginning of her chapters. And I just thought they were really well done. And they added a depth to the book that you just don't get in the actual storytelling aspect of it sometimes. And I also wanted to, like, how do I explain it? I wanted to incorporate these things of how the people see the gods and how they interpret things and how their little sayings that they have that are kind of just like their little colloquialisms and little like wise sayings that they pass down to each other. Like one of the ones that kind of came to me is like, speak of the devil and he shall appear. That's something that all of us kind of know. And I was just kind of like, okay, but what if in this world it was something different? And I also wanted it to include it to kind of show how the mortals who we are following, because obviously Brandy and Jack and Sarah and the entire cast, they're mortals. And I kind of wanted to show how they see the gods, because just because the gods are one way and have a certain nature does not mean that people perceive them that way. And I kind of wanted to show that. And I also kind of wanted to drop little nuggets of like life advice in the beginning if I could. And it's just like, some of it's useful. Some of it is like purely in-world stuff. But I don't know. It was just fun. That's kind of where it came from. And the academies kind of lent it to that. And then, Audrey, you know this, but they also come into play later on in the book when we actually make it to Lyndall's domain.
So back to my other question before you started complaining about me taking your questions away.
Look, man. Let me
Each one of the 4 gods has a human vessel. So you have Roth, Lyndall, Karna, and Asari. And they each have individual human vessels that they inhabit. So what was the significance of having them have a human vessel that they inhabit in the story? Why did you feel the need to do that?
Couple of reasons. And they kind of follow each other. So I knew from the very beginning that Brandy was going to be the incarnation of Freya. That was always going to be a part of the story once I knew that the gods were going to be part of the story, because I'm going to stay on track. But side note, before I decided to include the gods, before I had that dream, this book was actually going to be a dystopian, and it was going to be set like far in the future. But I'm really glad that didn't happen. It worked out the way that it was supposed to. But once I knew that the gods existed, I knew that Brandy was going to be an incarnation of Freya, and she was going to have this really close relationship with her. But as I was writing the story, I was like, there has to be more incorporation of the gods for this plot that I have in my mind to really work and be as fleshed out as I want it to be. And so that's kind of where the vessels came from. And I wanted a really explicit reason for Brandy to have to do what she has to do. And again, if you haven't read the book, this is not a spoiler, but one of Brandy's main things is that she has to keep this one girl from dying, from being killed or whatever.
Yeah, we don't talk about her.
Yeah, because she's been targeted by the queendom for reasons, right? And I wanted one of the reasons why to be more than just sentimental reasons. I didn't want to write that into Brandy's character, like, oh, this one person that I met this one time when I was like 5. Now I'm going to disobey orders for this organization that I've been a part of for like 10 years. I didn't want that for her. So that also kind of came into play of like giving Brandy reasons to do the things and act the way that she does. And also I just thought it would be fun. Especially the one character, Sarah. I loved writing her relationship with Asari because her relationship with Asari is like the complete opposite of Brandy's relationship with Freya. And that was really fun to write, honestly.
So, since you talked about it, Brandy and Sarah do have an interesting relationship. Can you elaborate a little bit without giving away too much?
I can. So, this is kind of a long-winded answer because most of the feedback that I have gotten from non-melanated readers is they do not care for Brandy and they do not care for the relationship between Brandy and Sarah.
Of course they don't.
And I always find this very interesting and very fun to talk about because something that you have to know about my book is that the thing that I tell people who don't know me, who are meeting me for the first time, who don't know that I'm an author, when they find out I'm an author, I always say, I write about Black girls who aren't all that nice. And the reason I say that is because I never want anyone going into my book thinking that they are going to get a certain version of Black girls that they are used to seeing. Because as a Black girl who spends time around other Black girls and Black women, we are so multifaceted and there are so many aspects to us that we never get to really show in public. And I wanted to include that in my book. And so I preface this, what I'm about to say, by saying that I do this intentionally, right? And there are some people who do not like Brandy because she is unapologetic, because she is not friendly, because she is not trying to be everyone's best friend. And most people are not familiar, especially non-melanated people. I'll say non-melanated people are not familiar with being in a space with a Black woman who is not trying to constantly prove that she is not dangerous, that she is not angry, that she deserves to be heard and listened to and respected, and that she is not a threat. Brandy is a threat. She knows that she's a threat, and she will happily threaten you to remind you that. And I wanted her to be that way. And
she'll send you to the gods in a hot minute. And won't even think twice about it.
Won't even question it. And the relationship with Brandy and Sarah kind of blossomed from, like I said earlier, I was sick of reading all this power of friendship crap in books. And I use the word crap very lightly because I'm not saying these books are bad. It's just after a certain point, especially at a certain point in your life, you have lost a certain amount of friends and you have gone your separate ways. You kind of understand that the power of friendship is sometimes a load of BS. And you just want people to be like, I haven't seen you in 10 years. Please act like I haven't seen you in 10 years.
Right.
You know, we're not this, even if we were bestest of friends in the 9th grade, honey, I've been out of school for like 12, 13. Right. If I have not seen you since the 9th grade, I don't care if we were tied at the hip. We are no longer that. And we are not necessarily the same people. So for Brandy and Sarah, I wrote their relationship to be like, yeah, they're together. Like the plot, the gods demand that they stay together. But they don't like each other. They're not friends. And it's not for lack of trying, because I feel like that's an aspect of friendships that you never see in books. Sometimes there's somebody who wants to be friends with you and you don't want to be friends with them. And the way you act and interact with them is going to be different than how you act and interact with the other people around you who are legitimately your friends. And so one of the things that I love about Brandy and Sarah's relationship is that they have like a mutual respect for each other because of who they are, but they're not best friends, and they're not necessarily trying to be best friends. And this is not a journey of friendship. It's like, oh, we've been together for so long and we've been through so much together, and now I feel like you're my best friend and I can't live without you. Bump that. Brandy will get rid of Sarah in a heartbeat.
If there wasn't that history there that she was assigned, gone.
Yeah. So
Sarah would have been gone.
Yeah.
So, Brandy is a shadow. Explain what that is.
So in my book, shadows are assassins. So when I pitch my book to people, I say, my book is We Are the Origin is the first book in a fantasy series about a group of assassins who have to work together to save the gods in their realm from destruction. That is the pitch for my book. However, the word assassin does not show up in the book at all once. And the reason for that is that I wanted it to be something that is understandable, but I didn't want to use that word. There are certain words that I don't use in the book. So there are no curse words in the book. I think I used the word ass like once, but there are no curse words. All of the the angry phrases, I will say, are completely world specific. And the word assassin is not something that I incorporate either. They're called shadows, and the reason I wanted it to be different is because I didn't want people going into the book with expectations of assassins do this and assassins do that. No, these are shadows, and they operate a very specific way within this world. And I felt like just by disconnecting that expectation from the word, you could go into it expecting assassins, but then be open to what they actually were in the book, because that's not what they're called. That's not what they referred to themselves as.
Absolutely. Now, I can't do this interview without talking about Noble.
I love Noble.
Yes. Please describe to our readers how you described Noble to me.
So, for those of you who are unaware, Noble is a character in my book. And he is, he's 25. And he's fine. And he knows it. And the best way to describe Noble in the book is he is a fountain, and anyone who is thirsty may come and get a drink. He's ready. Anybody can come get a drink. He will quench thine thirst.
You can get a little sippy sip. You can get a squanch. You can get a drink.
You can go swimming in the fountain if that's what you want to do.
You can do
He's
it.
not going to stop you.
He's not going to stop you.
So.
But when it's over,
Don't expect nothing. You need to have -8 expectations. Okay?
none. Because Noble is done. He's all about it when you want something. He's like, yes, let's do it. But when it's done.
Noble is here for a good time, not a long time. Okay? And he will tell you that he's here for a good time, not a long time. He's not. One thing I love about Noble, and you didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you anyway, and the reason I wrote him the way that I did is because he's 25, and he's fine, and he has nothing to tie him down, and he can take care of himself. And it's one of those things where, like, obviously I am who I am. Like, I got married really young, and I'm more like Brandy, how Brandy is with Jack, than I am like how Noble is. But I see people talking about all the time, like, oh, no one's going to want you, and da-da-da. And, like, I fully support the people who are, like, out here, live your best life. Live your best life. And if this is what you want to do, I find nothing wrong with two consenting people doing whatever consenting people want to do, and then moving on with their life. Not every interaction that you have with someone has to be meaningful. Not every interaction that you have with someone has to be deep, heartfelt love. Not every interaction has to have some hidden purpose or meaning behind it. Sometimes it is what it is. And Noble
and then we done.
And Noble's living his life. Like, I mean, honestly, if you were young and fine and could take care of yourself and money wasn't a problem, What would you be doing if you ain't got nobody that you want to be like, okay, I'm gonna stop for you? And the other thing that I wanted to write into his character is that he is not incapable of having restraint. He just chooses not to. And I feel like that's the other thing that people kind of misattribute to people. It's just like, oh, they're incapable of being faithful. That's not true. Noble is incredibly faithful to Brandy as like his little sister, the person he has to protect. He is also incredibly loyal to his friends. He just picks and chooses who he's loyal to. And a lot of people want to assign themselves to the list. And he's like, nah, this is a short list, bro. This is the size of a business card, okay? Like, you did not make the cut. I am so sorry.
Oh, man. I love Noble. I mean, Noble is not the kind of guy I would have even thought about messing with at, when I was a young woman dating. I might have kissed him just because the way you described his kisses, I might have kissed the brother. Just so I could experience a Noble kiss. But then I'd been like, okay, be gone.
And what I love about Noble is that he would have given you that kiss and gone on about his day.
And I probably would have been left there like,
I made a bad choice. But you live with us.
I want more, but I'm going to control myself. Because I know that this is not going to end well. But damn.
Yep.
The way you wrote him is like, I don't even know if I would partake of a kiss, because I don't think that I would be able to withstand Noble's magic. The kiss would just...
He's very magnetic. He's very charismatic and magnetic, and he knows it.
Yeah.
He knows it. And
yeah.
I feel like that's the thing that's really attractive about him, is that he's super confident. He's just like...
Yeah.
That's why Sarah interests him, because he's like, how are you still standing right now? Huh.
Right.
Okay. This isn't working on you. Let's keep trying.
Noble is a fuckboy. He really is.
Epitome of. Yeah.
But he's just so damn fine. You just like, whew.
It's like, I'm about to get played, but I still want to partake in the game.
Right. Get played like Lotto, but I'm here for it.
Yep.
I'm here for it.
Yep.
Just gotta brace myself for the ending, that's all.
Yeah. And I will say this, you guys, my book does not have any explicit spice. So please don't let what we're saying deter you.
Chelsea knows when I was growing up, and this is where I'm going to show my age, okay? Because I'm in my 50s. When there were movies, they would like kiss and then the door would close. There was always this, and you knew what was getting ready to happen, but there was a little bit of spice leading up to it, like there was a kiss or there was some innuendo, and then the person then it would cut to the next scene. But from the way that scene ended, that stuff happened.
Yep.
That is how Chelsea's scenes are. They give you just enough that you're just like, ooh. And then right when you're like, ooh, it's getting ready to happen. Nope, boom. Next scene.
And we're moving on.
Damn it! So she closes the door on every scene. She's like, and cut. It's like, no!
It's like a tour guide. It's like, and over here you'll see the giraffes. And oh, look at that. They're having a great time. Okay, now if you look to your right, you'll see the elephants.
What she does. She gives you just enough to make you swoon. And then it's just like, nope, all right, we're moving on. Nothing to see here, people.
Well, honestly, and I say this all the time on all my platforms, it's because my mom reads my books. And I'm just kind of like, nah. And I'm glad that I followed my instinct, because not only did my mom read my book, but my aunts read it, and they're like in their 70s, and I'm like, nah, homie. We're not playing these games.
I'm going to need you to write a secret book that your mom and aunts don't know about, because I see the potential there. I need to experience a Chelsea scene.
Here's the beautiful thing about not actually doing something. You don't know if I'm good at writing a sex scene or not, because I haven't done it. You just have expectations that I did not do anything to earn.
The way you made me swoon just with the little bit of scenes that you wrote. Please, ma'am. Please.
Just your basic average girl.
Whatever. I don't even want to hear that. I don't even want to hear that. Basic average. Whatever. Okay. So, I love the standard of beauty in this book.
Thank you.
Because everybody that is beautiful is brown-skinned and, curly hair and afros and all of that. And then there's Sarah's little ass.
Why are you gonna hate Sarah?
Because I do. And I love how Sarah is just other in this book. Like, with her blonde hair and her blue eyes, and people are just like, they look at her like, what is wrong with her?
Okay.
Like, I love it. I love it. The girl in me that never saw any fiction with people that looked like me in it growing up that weren't like completely dysfunctional or poor or struggling. That girl in me loves this. So explain to me why you chose to make it known that the standard of beauty was brown skin and brown eyes and,
Okay, so this is a very multifaceted, multi-layered question because there was a lot that went into this decision. One, I'm selfish and I'm very self-important and I'm low-key bordering on vanity sometimes. I'm fine. I'm cute. Okay, she knows this. All right, she's a bad bitch on any given day. Okay,
right.
But like you said, being brown skinned with brown eyes, and I have 4C hair. It's very I am the furthest thing from good hair that you could possibly get. I'm the when how they have that spectrum.
4C hair is good hair, honey.
I'm just saying, like, growing up, not using the term good hair in its current context, but like when you're growing up in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and you've got the good
the 70s
hair.
and 80s,
right.
I feel you.
I ain't had it. No, I had naps. I got naps. Okay, I was breaking combs since 2000. Okay, that is not who I was. All right, she does not have the stringy, bouncy curls. Okay, she does not have the racially ambiguous skin, the racially ambiguous features. You know, and I was tall. I was a big girl. I was dark skinned, and one of the things that I love about this current generation is, if you're on TikTok, and this is a slight aside, if you're on TikTok, one of the things that they say is that Instagram is for if you're pretty, TikTok is if you have a personality. And the reason I love that is because Instagram heavily rewarded those girls who were very aesthetic, who were like very, very slim, very fit, never talked about anything boring as looking at a wet cardboard. Okay. But they had all of the attention because they were pretty. They were visually pleasing. TikTok rewards personality. And when you had to grow up and you were not that visually pleasing, guess what? You grew a personality. So that being said, I wrote this book because I was like, if I can only contribute one thing, because I say all these things like I'm confident, I'm full of myself and yada yada yada, but I also know that there are a lot of books out there, and you never know if your book is going to be the one or if it's just going to be one of many. And I was just like, if I can only contribute one thing to this world of books, I want it to be that Black girls are beautiful. I want it to be confident. I want it to be, you don't have to learn how to love yourself because the world loves you. Right? And that was so important to me because, like I said, that was never me. I had to learn how to love myself as I got older because I wasn't the standard of beauty. I wasn't the girl. I was the smart girl. I was the kind of funny girl. I was never the pretty one. And that kind of gets to you over time. And that's why I was like, in this book, Black girls are going to be beautiful. And not just any Black girls, dark-skinned Black girls. Because even in this big old age of 2022, dark-skinned Black girls still catch a lot of flack. Be like, oh, you'd be prettier if you were light-skinned. Or, man,
you're
I hate
pretty
that they
for a Black girl.
You're pretty for a Black girl. I didn't want that in my book. And it was really important to me to include that and to be like, no. And it also goes back to, like I said, that masterclass that I talked about culture. Like, if you include something in your book, you have to have a reason for it. And I knew that I wanted the gods to be Black, because if y'all didn't know, Jesus was Black. All right? Ain't no other ifs, ands, buts about it. Okay? Fight with your mama, not me. Anyway, I knew that I wanted the gods to be Black in my book. So I was like, this is going to be the culture of the world, because the gods are loved and revered. And Freya is the mother of the realm, and she's seen as the epitome of beauty. She's going to be tall. She's going to be voluptuous. She's going to have wide hips. She's going to be soft and feminine, but she's also going to be dark skinned, and she's going to have these long locks down to her waist, and she is going to be loved and revered and seen as beautiful. And the closer you are to looking like her, the more beautiful you are going to be seen as, which
And I
is
love
why the gods, something else that you need to know about the gods is that their physical appearance, like the further they get away from Freya, the lighter they get. So Roth is like that darker to medium brown. Lindel is like light skinned, not ambiguous, just straight up light skinned. Karna is when you start to get much lighter, like racially ambiguous, like I imagined him to be like black and indigenous. And then Asari is pale, and I imagine him to be more like black and Asian, so very much way on that Asian tinted side, right? And it's just like their children reflect that, and that's why Sarah. It's not that I made her the other, simply because she has blonde hair and blue eyes. Not gonna lie, there's a small part of me that was just like, I'm sick of blonde hair and blue eyes being held as the standard of pretty. In my book, it's going to be the other. There was a small part of me that was like, no, we're gonna do this different. I am going to, what I look like is going to be the standard of beauty, and what everybody tells me I should look like, and I have absolutely no possibility of looking like, that's going to be the other. Part of it was that, but a much larger part of it, like I would say 98% of it, it was just pure. It makes sense in the book because the reason blonde hair, blue eyes, just so y'all know, like, ooh, she's got problems with. Let's not even start that conversation. All right. The reason is because, like I said, Asari is pale. He is the god of the moon. Like, he does not get a whole lot of vitamin D. Like, that's just not his thing. So he has pale skin. Therefore, his children also have pale skin. And because of Sarah's lineage, again, not a massive spoiler for the book, Sarah is part Rothian and part Asarian. And Roth is very dark skinned, and he has yellow hair. And sometimes children inherit the traits of their parents, and sometimes the mortals of the realm inherit traits from the gods. And the reason why Sarah looks the way she does is because Asari's children generally have blue eyes. They have brown eyes or they have blue eyes. That's just a thing in his realm. And in Roth's realm, in his domain, sometimes they have yellow hair, sometimes they have black hair. It's just something that naturally occurs. Because she's half, she got both, and that never happens because canonically in the world there is not a whole lot of intermingling going on, and so people just look at Sarah like she's pale skinned and she's got blue eyes like an Asarian, but she's got yellow hair like a Rothian, and her features are more Rothian, so people are just kind of like, who is she? Who she belong to? It's the epitome of when you walk to the store or you walk somewhere and you let me be very clear, very specific. I grew up in a black school. Okay, I went to a black high school, black college, okay? And when you see people who don't belong, you can look at your friends and be like, who she belong to? Because she does not belong here. And Sarah has that feeling everywhere she goes, like who she belong to. Because, and when people can't place you, they have one of two feelings. Either they become fascinated by you or they fear you. And throughout the book, Sarah comes across both of those. Some people are fascinated by her. Some people are straight up scared of her clutch of pearls. You know, grab your children. I don't know. I just felt like it was important to show that.
Why I love it, because it flipped the whole narrative around.
Yeah, and I feel like if there are non-melanated people, one of the things that are really big in our current culture is, you know, understanding, I guess. And it's just like, this is what it feels like to be the other, to see yourself in a character and to be otherized. Even though you are not this person, this is the person that was written for you to identify with. And they don't fit in. And they're not welcome. And they're not loved. And they're not held as beautiful. And they're not complimented. And they're not the smart one. They're not the funny one. They're not the interesting one. They're just the one thrown in the story. Although Sarah's not just thrown in the story. She has a plot.
No, she's not. But she's...
But that's what it feels like. To be othered all the time. You know? But
so now I know from the way this book ends that there's going to be more? How many more books are there in this series?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have not decided yet. I am currently working on book 2, and
Can you share a little bit about book 2? Can you share a working title, or at least what the book is going to be about?
I cannot give you a working title yet.
Okay.
Only because I plan to do a title reveal with my cover. So
Okay.
that's under wraps.
Okay.
But the second book will pick up where the first book left off. So,
Okay.
Again, this is not spoiler if you have not read the book. But the plot of the book is basically there is a antagonist that is beyond the reach of the gods, and the vessels, the mortal vessels of the gods, are tasked with dealing with this problem. It literally becomes their problem, and book 1 focused on one aspect of like getting the gang together. Book 2 will start to address some of the things that were kind of left open from book 1. So there are things going on with the gods. There are things going on with the antagonist. There are things going on within the politics of the realm. All those things that I kind of want to touch on. And book 1, it's going to be more violent. I can say that.
Okay.
And there's going to be a lot of, not more focus, but there is definitely going to be focus on interpersonal relationships between the characters that I kind of feel like were left a little bit more open in the first book. So there's definitely going to be more Brandy and Sarah moments for sure. And there are definitely going to be a lot more Sarah and Noble moments. And there are going to be more Jack and Brandy moments.
But they are Brack. They are Brack.
I mix their names all the time. I say Brack. I say Jandy. It works.
It's like Brangelina. You know, it's a Brack.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it. Ben has actually read the first chapter because he's like my alpha reader. Like prior to alpha, like he reads everything beforehand to like let me know if I'm on the right track. And he's like, yes, more.
All
and
right.
I'm like, cool.
Okay. Cool. All right.
And there's also going to be more Najee moments, which I'm really excited about because I feel like you didn't get a whole lot of her in book 1.
No, we didn't. Just like little snippets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay. All right.
And a lot of growth. Oh, I'm excited about book 2. Okay.
So do you have a date in mind for when you're going to release book 2?
Ideally, and this is just ideal, I cannot promise anything at this point,
okay,
but I want to aim for June. I want to do like a yearly release around June because I like June. Okay. June is Black History Month. So I would like to...
Thank you. June is Black History Month. Thank you.
So I would like to keep with that, and also I don't want people to have to wait too long to figure out what happens with book 2 because I'm one of those indie authors that reads the reviews because I just like to know. I'm nosy, okay? And one of the biggest things is like people love the book, but they're like they immediately look for book 2 and it's not out yet, and I'm like, sorry, working on it.
Gotta wait.
Yeah, but I'm so excited for book 2. One of the things that I'm looking forward to exploring is like Brandy's growth because she's definitely. I love her character so much, and I love that. Y'all don't think I'm weird. I love that there are certain people who don't like Brandy because I'm just like, that is more telling about you than it is about me in my book.
Exactly. Yep.
So
we don't care because finally Black girls are getting representation in fantasy, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So where can readers find your books?
So, I always encourage people to purchase from me directly because I am an indie author, and if you purchase from me directly, I get all of the money from it. So that's more money going towards the second book. And once I have the money for it, guess what? Book comes out faster. Just throwing that out there. But so I would love it if you purchase from me. You can just go to cmlockhart.com or writtenandmelanin.com. I own both those websites, whichever one you can remember. You can purchase a book from there. Or my book is available at any retailer. So you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can grab it from there. And you can also request it from your library and your local bookstore if that's what you would like to do. So, yeah, wherever. It's just We Are the Origin by C.M. Lockhart.
All right. And where can we find you on the internet and social media?
Ooh, okay. So on the internet, assuming that you're listening to this for me, the author. I am C as in Chelsea, Lockhart, Write, W-R-I-T-E, everywhere on the internet. So that's Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And I am most active on Twitter and TikTok. Please do not message me on Instagram because that means I have to open up the app and I don't want to do that. But I will respond if you must. But I'm going to ask you to message me on Twitter. I ain't even going to lie. I ain't even going to lie.
She's a Twitter girl.
I like Twitter. I like TikTok. I spend a lot of time over there. If you're looking for more of my like business professional stuff, because like I do run my own publishing company and I do run the Melanin Library. For the publishing company, it's written with the letter N and then Melanin. So written in Melanin. Same places. And then also Melanin_library. If you're looking for books by Black authors, I'm also that on all platforms. So yeah.
All right. And so we have come to the end of our show. I want to thank you so much for sharing your time and talents with us today. You know, I love this book. I love this book so much, y'all, that I actually talked with Chelsea and had her walk me through. I found different stuff and bought the outfit, and I will be dressing as Brandy in October. So if you want to see that, you have to go subscribe to Written in Melanin on YouTube, because one of those Tuesdays in October, I will be dressed as Brandy with green eye contacts, the long braids, everything.
I cannot wait, you guys. This is going to be fantastic. It's going to be amazing.
It is. It is. And I'm also thinking about doing some videos too, like some TikTok videos where, like, you know, with the whole, so you can see the full outfit, because the boots are badass.
You have to. You definitely have to.
I have to. Yeah. Yeah. All right, y'all. So you know what time it is. I'm leaving with your quotes. And today, it is coming from our illustrious author, C.M. Lockhart. It's from We Are the Origin. It's from Lyndall's Second Holy Academy. And it goes a little something like this. Love is not big. It is not all grand gestures and exuberant confessions. It is a collection of small moments that mean bigger things, gentle touches that spark fires, an unwavering desire that cannot be altered by anger, jealousy, or malicious forces outside of those who share it. It is a magnificent thing. And though it is not the only solution to every problem, there does not exist a problem that it cannot solve. Until next time, y'all, you know what to do. Grab a book and read. And I'm out. Thanks for lending me your ear today. If you enjoyed this content, please head over to betweenthereads.com and leave a rating for the show. While you're there, consider supporting this independent podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/betweenthereads. Join us next week for another great episode.